Here at Citizen Television. We're going to go straight into our interview following that feature, Scars of the Vote. Joining us live in the studios, Danvers McCory. He's a commissioner with the NCIC. Dominic Kisavi is Commissioner of Police and NPS IBC Liaison. And Evans Okeo. He's Acting Director Investigations at IPOA. Gentlemen, welcome to Sunday Live.
Indeed, we have a lot of questions to get into, but the first one would be to get all of your reactions to what you've just watched. It was quite heart-wrenching and just seeing a lot of the reactions coming in from social media, but I'll begin with you, Commissioner Danvers.
First and foremost, I think, before I say anything, Happy Mother's Day to all mothers in the country and the world. Happy Mother's Day is the foundation to our families and our society. It's heart-wrenching and heartbreaking, of course, what we've seen. But one thing I think for us, we've said as a government, as a commission, that we will never go back there. I mean, those stories, what you've seen, multiply that thousands, 10 times over and over. We had close to 1 million people displaced, thousands died. So, and I'm glad you've highlighted that. So for us, that story, multiplied 10,000, one person is too many. Just one person. Right. One person to lose their life because of election is too many. So for us as a government and as a commission, we've said, not again. We'll not allow that, and we've placed enough measures to make sure the next time it will be positive stories, not heartbreaking stories like what we have said.
Yeah. Commissioner Kisavi, you agree?
Yeah, I agree with him. And from where I sit on behalf of National Police Service, we are saying this should never ever happen again. We are determined to make sure that that will remain in the books of history, and that never again shall we ever lose any life due to election violence. And we are ready to make sure that it happens.
Evans, that is so much easier said than done. And you can see the tension, you can see the campaigns, you can see the anger in people out there. How do you reassure them that these elections, 3 months from tomorrow, will be free, fair, and non-violent?
Thank you, Jeff. Allow me to associate with my fellow panelists on what we have just seen on the screen. Quite heart-wrenching. From the perspective of IPOA, two approaches. Number one, accountability for the incidents, the past incidents. We have investigated those matters and we want to hold them accountable for their actions. And number two is to build on the lessons learned. Remember, one of the functions of IPOA under Section 6 of the IPOA Act is to monitor policing operations affecting members of the public. Now, we did monitor the conduct of police officers during the 2017 elections. A report was launched. We published a report with recommendations to NPS and other stakeholders. Just recently, we did launch a roadmap for monitoring policing operations around the 2022 general elections. We have been involved in monitoring the party primaries already. We will be publishing our report soon with findings and recommendations. And my assurance to Kenyans is, yes, we intend to do things differently this time around. We are working with stakeholders. And for the first time, we are part of IBC security under the Election Security Arrangement Program, where we have participated actively in the preparation of the Commander's Manual. We have participated in training all the 47 commanders that we did in collaboration with the Internal Affairs Unit in March of this year. We intend to also actively monitor before, during and after the general elections. And of course, if incidents occur, we will hold the perpetrators accountable, and we will, of course, publish our reports with recommendations.
And just as a follow-up to that, Evans, in terms of holding them accountable, how many prosecutions have you actually been able to mete out?
Thank you. As we speak, we have about 142 cases before court right now. We've had a total of 18 convictions to date, okay. And I think we can only hope that we will get more in the course of time. Yeah. Thank you.
Commissioner, Evans just mentioned the roadmap, which I'm sure you're very aware of.
Yeah.
And the one thing with Kenyans and people in uniform, and I keep seeing this word coming up in the roadmap, is trust. Yeah. The word trust. How do you make Kenyans trust you?
Thank you very much, Jeff. I think I can confidently say that for the first time, National Police Service is working in collaboration, close collaboration with all stakeholders. Evans has just said it. I'm part of the security committee, which includes all other security agencies, including IPOA, NCIC, IBC, even ODPP and judiciary. The purpose of this, we want to work together and make sure that we support each other to make sure that we will not have a single life lost. In fact, our determination is to make sure that this time around, IPOA will not be able to prosecute any member of the National Police Service. That is the reason why we started preparing early. We started preparing for the 2022 general elections way back in 2019. Reason being, we first decided to do something that has never happened again another time before in the National Police Service. We developed a National Police Service Election Security Manual, which I have a copy today here. This was developed and launched after we got feedback, we got views and input from all stakeholders. And we also, on that, we said, this book is for commanders. It's a guideline for commanders in the police service. And as we are speaking now, every police commander in the country, from OCS upwards, has a copy of this. It is meant to provide guidelines on how to prepare for elections, not only in 2022, but going forward in future, other elections in future. And also to make sure that our junior officers are covered and they are well versed on how they are supposed to conduct themselves during elections. We also developed and launched a pocket guide to election security. This, we want to make sure that every police officer, from constable up to IG himself, has a copy of this. Already we are printed with support with stakeholders and distributed to several police officers. And we are still in the progress. This is a work in progress. We are still printing more and we are going to distribute. Another thing that we are doing, we started training all police officers, but we started upwards from regional level downwards. Now we have already done training with county commanders. This month we'll be starting training with the sub-county police commanders, popularly known as OSPDs. After which, when we cover all the OSPDs in the country, we'll go down to OCSs to make sure that they are conversant on their role. And one of the things that we are training police officers, and that's where we have IPOA. The fear that used to be within the National Police Service about IPOA, Evans can confirm, is slowly fading away. We are taking them as part of our partners because everybody wants a good police service, an accountable police service. We want to make sure that never again shall we ever be accused of any involvement in election violence. We want people, the public, to come closer to us. Actually, we normally, during our training, invite even members of the human rights societies to come and talk to the officers about human rights, so that all the officers can be able to uphold human rights during the execution of their duties. The same thing, we're also working with the NCIC to make sure that we suppress the issue of hate speech in the country. And we are reaching out to the public through other forums like community policing to make sure that people trust us. And when we are invited, even in some fora by other organizations, we also present ourselves to talk to them. For example, from my seat, I've seen several invitations by even the church, by the religious organizations. Yeah. From this month, we'll be engaging with them publicly to make sure that we bring the public closer to us and they support us. And this is bearing fruit. We are getting a lot of support from the public. And even as the public is reporting about the mushrooming of organized criminal gangs, and we are cracking on them.
Allow me to jump in there, Commissioner, and bring in Commissioner Danvers, because you mentioned hate speech, and that is a huge driver of a lot of the violence that we see, especially during elections. We've seen many politicians arrested, but none of them really brought to book, Commissioner, which I believe would be a bigger deterrent than maybe a lot of the regulations that you've put in place, especially in the roadmap that NCIC has for the general election. How can you practically bring them to book so they can actually see that something will be done if I speak recklessly on the campaign trail?
Thanks, Vicky. It's a good question, and it's a good concern. Part of the challenge that has been there, Vicky, is the fact that prior to what we are doing right now, as my fellow commissioner has said, in terms of all government approach to this, we had a challenge. For example, it takes about 4 to 5 years for a case to be heard and determined in Kenya, in court, approximately. So if you are a politician, I come and arrest you, Jeff, today. 5 years later is when your case is determined. Okay? So, of course, you have no incentive to be peaceful. And you know for a fact if you incite people will forget. So what we did through the platforms that we've talked about right now, to address that issue, we came together with the judiciary. We came together with the ODPP. And I think about a couple of weeks ago, he announced that he's appointed 142 special prosecutors to handle hate speech cases and election-related cases. To the judiciary, when we spoke with the Chief Justice, she set aside 5 courts, which will be launched in a couple of days from now, in Mombasa, Nairobi, Kisumu, Eldoret, Nakuru. The reason is, in this case, these 5 courts are purely to handle hate speech cases and election-related violence. So now we're working with all of this, of course, with the police, the CI, to make sure now, from the time somebody is arrested, the time a case is determined, it's just a couple of weeks. So that there's an incentive now, because you know for a fact, I mean, within 2-3 weeks, your case is heard and determined and done. So that's something we did. That's a challenge that has been a reality, but that's what we've done. But the reality also, I think, Vicky, what people fail to realize is we have a constitution, okay? And we operate within the framework constitution, the separation of powers. So our work is to investigate, we arrest, investigate, okay, together with the DCI and PS. And then once we hand over the cases to the ODPP, as they're independent too, and the judiciary too, because what you want, which is very important, people forget, I know what you're saying, but also what you want is, you don't want the system rigged against you, because we investigate, we arrest. You want people who do investigation, arrest, are independent from those who prosecute, those who hear your cases, so that at the end of the day, there's a check and balance system to what we do. So yes, there is that challenge, but we've worked hard with our partners, the judiciary, Chief Justice and the whole judiciary and the DPP and his office very closely. So that's why there's 142 special prosecutors for this time and those 5 courts for this time, specifically to handle that.
Gentlemen, we're going to give you 30 seconds each. Millions of Kenyans are watching you right now. 30 seconds each. How do you reassure Kenyans this time around we'll get it right? Evan, start with you.
Thank you, Jeff. Like I'd said before, the assurance I'm giving Kenyans today is, as IPOA, we are ready to monitor actively the events around security during the elections. Our monitoring will be done in the sense of the events prior, the events during the election, and the events after. And Jeff, you realize that normally what happens is there are protests generally for a number of reasons, and the right to picket under Article 37 of our Constitution is not absolute. There are limitations, and that's why you realize the police will always go out to try and manage the crowds where there are riots or where they are armed or something. And therefore, the assurance we are giving is we will monitor. And one of the recommendations we have made to the service is around tooling and equipment. And we are asking that we have the right tooling for officers as they are deployed out there, such that as they interact with the crowd, they use less lethal means of crowd control. Great. And finally, we also have a robust rapid response team that will be out there to respond in real time to manage crime scenes, just so that we're able to hold the perpetrators if they happen.
Commissioner.
To book. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jeff. I want to assure the public that the National Police Service will deploy adequately. We will work closely with all stakeholders, including IEBC and also the public, to make sure that IEBC staff, their materials, the public, business people, and voters are secure to do their business and go and cast their votes and go back home. And Kenya will remain safe. And we are open to criticism. And we are ready to be told where we have gone wrong so that we can be able to work on that.
Right.
Commissioner Danvers, you get the last word.
Oh, thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Vicky. What we have done for the past 2 years, we've mapped the hotspot areas in the country, 23 counties, and then those who really focus, about top 10 counties. We've put measures in place, and together with other agencies in government, we've made sure that what we've seen, what you've shown will never happen again. We have enough measures. You see, the fact is, Jeff, I think we forget, yes, we're focusing on election, but election is a trigger. Okay, it is not the root cause of violence. It's not the approximate cause of violence. It's a trigger. So what we've done as a commission, because that's our mandate, is to remove, for lack of a better word, the bullet from the chamber. So that if you pull the trigger, nothing happens. You understand? Because there are underlying issues. So we're working on underlying issues, root causes, especially in hotspots areas with other government agencies that are represented here and others which are not here, to make sure that root causes are addressed so that even if somebody pulls the trigger, we will not have issues that we raised. But I can assure Kenyans, I can tell you for a fact, Jeff, that this coming election, as much as tensions are there and stakes are high, it will be peaceful. As much as we can have an issue here and there, for the most part, this country will remain steadfast and peaceful and cohesive.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Absolutely.
Gentlemen, thank you so much.
Danvers Makori, Commissioner, NCIC. Dominic Kisavi, Commissioner of Police and NPS IEBC Liaison. And Evans Okeyo, Acting Director, Investigations, IPOA.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, thanks so much for your time. Great conversation.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Vicky. Thank you. All right.
Take a break.
We'll take a break. Come back. Keep giving your feedback at Koinange Jeff.
At Vicky Rubadiri.
At Citizen TV Kenya. The hashtag is Sunday Live. Sunday Live takes a break. We'll be back in a moment.